I awoke feeling refreshed and with a renewed sense of purpose. I'm not sure if I would say that I accepted the events of yesterday, but I no longer felt so profoundly disturbed by what had happened. I have decided to go to the temple and pray to the Nine for guidance. Perhaps then I will see a clear path forward. It had dawned gray and rainy in Whiterun, but that was not going to be sufficient to keep me from making my devotion to the temple. The Temple of Kinnereth was a humble place, but I came and I prayed at the altar. When I was done, I felt refreshed, my purpose firmed, and I knew, despite my misgivings, that I must accept the summons of the Greybeards. I would go to this High Hrothgar and see what it is they wanted of me. Either way, it was time to get going, and I'll admit that I was not sad to see dreary old Whiterun go. Perhaps if we moved fast enough, we could outrun this storm. First thing, of course, I would need to buy a horse. The stables outside of Whiterun might provide transportation, if I had enough coin. The storm began to fade even as I approached the stables.
Do your good deed for the day.
Got the fleetest steeds in all of Skyrim.
That is why I'm here.
A man like you needs a war horse, I reckon.
I need a mount. I suppose you can supply one such.
Suppose so. Got one all saddled if you've got the coin.
1,000 gold is rather steep, but I suppose I have little choice. I need a horse if I'm going to be riding all over Skyrim.
You've got a deal. It's the one with the saddle. Ride strong.
It appeared that Lydia had already acquired her own, which is fortunate, because I did not believe I could afford to buy another. Somehow it seemed I was to climb all the way up there, to this High Hrothgar. Well, as they say, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. I was glad the sun had come out. Skyrim was a beautiful land. Dangerous, but still beautiful. Up ahead, I saw an armed stranger by the tower. I somehow didn't think this was one of Skyrim's honorable guardsmen, and I didn't really wish to tangle with them right now. I signaled to Lydia that we would just keep riding. We didn't need to involve ourselves in this right now. Ivarstead. That is where we need to go. Skyrim, it seemed, was dotted with towers and abandoned fortresses, probably all gone to banditry at this point. And so we began our descent into the mountain. From what I understood, Ivarstead, the city that we would stop at on our way, was less than halfway up. But all the same, this was our route. The horses at least seemed to be taking it gamely enough. There was that to be said about Skyrim horses. They were hardy creatures. That could be said about many things of Skyrim. Following this river should get us there pretty soon. Oh, that was not something we wanted to tangle with. I put heels to my horse, and did my best to leave it behind. Now that I was pretty sure it had given up chase, it was time to take a break and water the horses. Uh-oh, what was that? A troll. And, Nirnroot. Decided to explore and see what victims the troll would claim before our arrival. The note on the soldier was, unfortunately, woefully uninformed. That is why these soldiers were dead. Luckily, the troll would no longer be any trouble. Our little detour at an end, we moved on. Ever upward the trail wended. And then we were here. Ivarstead.
Not today. I'm just not ready to make the climb.
I decided we would leave the horses at the end and then go the rest of the way up on foot. From what I understood, it got very cold up there. And I wasn't sure if the horses would make it. To be honest, I wasn't entirely certain I would make it. And so it begins. The story said there were 7,000 steps up to High Hrothgar, and periodically we placed these shrines. Before the birth of men, the dragons ruled all Mundus. Their word was the voice, and they spoke only for true needs, for the voice could blot out the sky and flood the land. Despite the altitude, I was beginning to regret wearing all the armor and the fur. But then up ahead I saw snow, and I knew that soon enough I would no longer regret it. I would be happy for all the warmth I could muster.
Keep an eye out for wolves if you're headed
Thank
up the
you.
path to High Hrothgar.
Men were born and spread over the face of Mundus. The dragons presided over the crawling masses. Men were weak then, and had no voice. The fledgling spirits of men were strong in old times, unafraid to war with dragons in their voices, but the dragons only shouted them down and broke their hearts. Ahead, I saw another pilgrim.
Need something?
Who are you?
Just a pilgrim. I'd prefer to leave it at that, if you don't mind.
Fair enough. What are you doing? Why are you just sitting here?
Walking the steps, meditating on the emblems. I make this trip every few years.
I have somewhat of a strange question for you. If you do this regularly, did you hear the Greybeard's call, Dofakeen?
I was just outside Iverstead when it happened. It's an exciting moment. Nothing like this has happened in centuries.
Well, thank you. I will not disturb you any further.
Good day.
And to you.
Need something?
Kine called on Parthenax, who pitied man. Together they taught men to use the voice. Then dragon war raged, dragon against tongue. This ravine looked ominous. If I were to set an ambush, I would set it here. Man prevailed, shouting Alduin out of the world, proving for all that their voice too was strong, although their sacrifices were many-fold. I was beginning to get cold. The fur cloak kept me warm for a while, but even it had its limits. With roaring tongues the Sky Children conquer, founding the first empire with sword and voice, whilst the dragons withdrew from this world. The tongues at Red Mountain went away humbled. Jurgen Windcaller began his 7-year meditation to understand how strong voices could fail. I took a break at the 7th emblem. and looked out over the world. Gods, but we were high. That, I believe, was Bleak Falls Barrow. It seemed small, like a model down below me. But it is so cold. I must press on. Come, Lydia. Jurgen Windcaller chose silence and returned. The 17 disputants could not shout him down. Jurgen the Calm built his home on the throat of the world. For as much as it mattered, I was glad that it was a sunny day. I cannot imagine how much colder it would be if there were a blizzard raging. And then finally I saw it. High Hrothgar. For years, all silent, the Greybeards spoke one name. Tiber Septim, stripling then, was summoned to Hrothgar. They blessed him and named him Dothraki. High Hrothgar, the top of the throat of the world. The voices worship. Follow the inner path. Speak only in true need. Though I did not necessarily buy into Skyrim's mysticism. This was a storied place. Tiber Septim had once stood where I now stood. Steeling myself